You may be able to choose the best players to be used on your team in Diamond Dynasty, but that does not matter if you don't set them in the right lineup. Getting the right batting order on your God Squad and ranked seasons really matters in MLB the Show. I'm gonna give you some tips and feedback on what I like to do when setting the batting order. There are a couple steps in the process of choosing the best lineup. First of all, you gotta choose the right players for your lineup. Then you gotta choose the best order for said players. And when you're choosing the right players for the order, make sure you're looking at your team as a whole. Ideally, you want a mix of lefties, righties, switch hitters. You don't want to have too many of one-handedness in a row, because when you're playing a ranked game, all it takes is one starting pitcher, one reliever to be in the game, and it could really mess with your team if you have way too many righties, too many lefties. I recommend mixing up your order, get a balance of lefties and righties. At this point in the game, it's beneficial to have a balanced order because you have a lot of really good righty starters, and you have some really good lefties like Randy Johnson that you always got to be prepared for. My sweet spot is about 3 lefties. I don't like to have more than 4 lefties in a lineup, but ideally you want to have about no more than 4 of anything, whether it's lefties or righties. But if you have more than 4 of anything, probably would be okay to do the righties, because righty-righty I find to not be too difficult to hit in this game, while lefty-lefty hitting might be difficult for some, so you probably don't want to have too many lefties. But as you see with my lineup, I have 3 lefties and 5 righties, so that's just kind of the nature of my lineup. As you see, I'm not staying overly strict with having too many lefties and righties, because at the end of the day, most of my best hitters are righties, like Josh Donaldson and Austin Riley and Andrew McCutchen. So some of the righties got to be in there. And at shortstop, there aren't really many lefty shortstop options other than O'Neal Cruz. I'm not forcing myself to use a lefty or switch hitter when I don't really have to. Once you have your players chosen in your lineup, let's go through the individual spots in the order and some overall tips to help you construct that lineup well. Ranked seasons, you have a 9-inning structure. You're obviously playing full-length games. Having your lineup constructed in a very smart manner does matter, because if you are getting through that lineup over and over and over again, each player in your lineup needs to have a purpose on your team. You got to make sure that each player is put in their best spot in the order to find the most success. So starting off in the leadoff spot, this is a little bit tough because in MLB the Show, you're using God Squad type players, so your leadoff hitter might not be like a real life leadoff hitter. I'm looking for a solid, well-rounded hitter, maybe a contact type hitter in the lineup with good speed. That's why I have Anthony Volpe, because he has 87 speed, which is good. Better than a lot of the other players in my lineup. He has some pop to hit a solo homer. He's got the contact to get on bases and get some runners on for the best part of my order. So he is the perfect leadoff hitter for my lineup here. In the 2 spot, I think this should be the avenue to get one of, if not your best overall hitter in the lineup. This should be someone that maybe has a little bit of power, who has the ability to hit for good contact. Players like McCutchen, George Brett, Austin Riley are great fits for that 2 spot in the order. It is a hitter you want to be able to get up multiple times a game, and hopefully someone who maybe isn't just a home run or bust type hitter. Someone that could just get the game going, get you a runner on base, hit with some runners on, because this 2 hitter is going to be pretty crucial being in the middle of that order. So Andrew McCutchen is perfect with the speed, the great contact, the good power. He's a perfect 2 spot hitter. Your 3 hitter should hopefully be a really big power hitter for your team. This is someone that will likely have at least a runner or 2 on base pretty regularly. So this is someone that you probably want to have consistent home run power with. So like a David Ortiz, Frank Thomas, George Brett from me, for example. A great home run hitter should be in your 3 spot. This is the player that, you know, maybe you strike out with him a bit, but it's okay because they're your 3-hole hitter. If you hit a lot of home runs with them, this should be your 3 spot, ideally, if you can get it. Your 4th hitter should be almost like your 2 hitter, where they're a little bit of a well-rounded hitter, your cleanup hitter. There's a reason it's called the cleanup hitter, because they're trying to clean up any runners on base. So it should be something that you hit well with runners in scoring position. So for me, I have Josh Donaldson. He's a righty. He's got the good power versus both sides. He's been very good. Then your 5th spot should be like a second 3 hitter. That's how I like to go about it, at least. So it should be another home run hitter type. Hopefully someone who can hit for good home run power, but might be a little worse than your 3 hitter. Then really, once we get into the back part of the order, 6, 7, 8, it gets pretty tough, but also pretty simple. Like your 8 hitter is usually going to be your catcher. It's one of your worst hitters in the lineup. It might be good to have some speed in that 8 spot, just in case you do get on base and you want to get that bunt down with the pitcher. Then that speed could easily get over to second, for example. You may want to consider moving the pitcher up 1 spot in your order, and then hitting a high-speed runner in the 9 spot to have a second leadoff hitter. Some people like to do that. But really in the 6, 7, 8 spot, you're putting your weaker hitters, ideally alternating handedness. And you may want to consider having your catcher in the 7 or 8 spot. And then also getting some speed down here, maybe in the 7 or 8 spot. Probably your weakest hitter with some speed. Get him in scoring position for the top of the order. Also, just to note, I do want to mention you should alternate handedness whenever you can. Luckily, my lineup works out very well where I could flip-flop lefty-righty very easily and make my lineup good. So make sure you aren't having too many righties in a row, too many lefties in a row, because when you're late game, you got to make sure you make them think about who they're using, right? You got to make sure your opponent is considering, oh, do I go lefty? Do I go righty? It doesn't really hurt you for more than a stretch of 3 batters. So the most that I have in this order in terms of righties in a row is the top 2 in the order, and 2 of them are some of my better hitters. So I don't worry that much about it. But in an ideal world, you are alternating handedness pretty regularly, so you don't have too many righties, too many lefties, and just find whatever works the best for your lineup. In terms of your bench, MLB the Show is a little bit different in real life. Obviously, in IRL baseball, you're looking for more versatility out of the bench. Maybe players who play a few positions, maybe some players that provide some more speed. In this game, I like to go the avenue of just stacking it with 4 really good pinch hitters, ideally 2 righties, 2 lefties, or at least players that are good versus righties and good versus lefties. And ideally, you want to have different handedness. But if you do go into a reliever late game, you can quickly swap in the pinch hitter and have the perfect handedness. So Frank Thomas you use versus left, David Ortiz versus righties, Al Kaline versus left, Joey Votto versus right. And then that 5th spot could be a switch hitter. It could be someone with some speed if you want a pinch run, or maybe someone with good defense if you want a defensive sub, if you're rocking a bad defender. There's a lot of options. I like Jackie Robinson here because he could play a few positions. He's got good defense. He's got great speed, so I could pinch run him late game if it's really desperate, but I don't really use the pinch runner or defensive sub too often in this game. So yeah, and I guess while we're talking about lineups, we should talk about the rotation, the bullpen. The rotation order doesn't really matter at all, but the bullpen is really something that matters. You want to know which relievers you should be prioritizing and the ones that you maybe want to, not use in high leverage situations. So in case you don't see this bullpen management and you don't really care about what the order is, I like to label and keep the pitchers in their designated slots just so I could easily understand things. Your long reliever is usually gonna be someone that you would want to go to if, I don't know, your starting pitcher has a rough start. Maybe you're out of the game at that point. Maybe it's a situation where you're going to a reliever in the 5th or 6th inning. That would be who you want to go to in the LRP, the long relief pitcher spot. Then your middle relief pitchers are your pitchers that maybe you're using in some other circumstances. Maybe it's a close game, 1 game. Maybe it's a situation where aren't even close in the game. You just want to use reliever. These aren't your best relievers normally. So I put someone like middle tier guys in the middle reliever spot. Then my best relievers are in the setup in the closer spot. So Britton and Raleigh Finger are some of my best. They're going to be in the setup spot. And then Aroldis Chapman is like my closer. Like if I'm in a save situation, I'm going to Chapman to get those final 3 outs. And it doesn't really matter where you place them, but it's good to note with your relievers to give them a role like this. MLB the Show is different in real life, like I mentioned, because you have a lot of top tier relievers. So it's not like real life where every team is just their significantly best reliever. It's not even close. However, I would make sure you keep an eye out on how you manage your bullpen late game. Make sure you're going to the right relievers at the right time. Don't use your best reliever just for the sake of it every time. Make sure you sometimes save them for the close games that maybe you're just winning by 1 or 2. And I think that's the way to go for managing your bullpen. So yeah, those are my tips on helping you construct your lineup in MLB the Show 22. Let me know in the comments how you feel about my lineup tips and what you like to do with your batting order. And if you guys are brand new to the channel and don't know that I do this, I do lineup reviews on my Twitch channel whenever I go live, and I might be doing that on YouTube on live streams here soon. So make sure you are subbed over here and follow the Twitch channel over there. But if you enjoyed this, make sure you hit that thumbs up and like that video. It helps get the videos out there, and I would appreciate it a ton. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys again on Tier List Tuesday tomorrow. Deuces.